Okay, just imagine this for a second. In one single, silent moment, the world you know, it just gets ripped apart. And I'm not talking about earthquakes or asteroids, no. This is something way more fundamental. This is about what would happen if the Earth's perfect 1,000-mile-per-hour spin just stopped. So let's explore what that catastrophic day would actually look like.
It is a pretty terrifying thought, right? But it really forces us to think about a fundamental truth. Our entire existence, everything we are, depends on this constant, predictable motion that we never even feel. So what would happen if that motion, that whole cosmic ballet, just came to a sudden final halt? To even begin to understand the sheer scale of this catastrophe, you have to start with this number: 1,000 miles per hour. That is roughly the speed of our planet's rotation at the equator. It's a velocity that everything on the surface, including you right now, is carrying. And it is absolutely the key to the apocalypse that would follow. All right, so the first few moments of this disaster, they would be nothing short of instantaneous annihilation. We're not talking about a slow change here. This is a brutal, unforgiving lesson in the laws of physics, specifically the law of inertia. See, the Earth's bedrock might stop, but everything else, it keeps going. You, me, buildings, trees, all the topsoil, everything that isn't welded directly to the planet's core would be flung sideways at over 1,000 miles an hour. The force would just rip buildings clean off their foundations, creating this deadly, high-velocity storm of debris that would literally scour the entire surface of the globe. And those same physics, they apply to the oceans, which are also carrying that immense eastward momentum. We are not talking about a normal tsunami. This would be a global wall of water, miles high, racing across the planet at the speed of a jet. It's an unimaginable, world-ending flood. And if you thought the destruction was just on the surface, think again. While the crust has stopped, the molten iron core, it keeps spinning. This creates this impossible conflict between the planet's layers. The tectonic forces would be catastrophic, likely triggering supervolcanoes to erupt all across the entire planet, choking the sky with ash. So let's recap. In just the first few moments, you have a planet-wide scouring from inertia, a globe-drowning tsunami, and massive volcanic eruptions. It is, without a doubt, the end of life as we know it. But, believe it or not, the horror is just getting started. After that initial absolute chaos, a new, terrifyingly stable reality would set in. The planet becomes a world of two extremes, now tidally locked to the sun. And what that means is one side is trapped in perpetual scorching daylight, and the other is frozen in an endless, horrifying night. Our planet has basically become two new worlds fused together. On one side, you've got a sun-seared hell, and on the other, a perpetual night ice ball. Two complete extremes, and both are utterly hostile to life. Let's talk about the day side. The constant, direct sunlight would kick off a runaway greenhouse effect. Atmospheric gases would just build up, trapping more and more heat until the temperatures became so extreme that any remaining oceans would simply boil away, creating a thick, toxic atmosphere, a lot like Venus. Meanwhile, over on the dark side, the exact opposite happens. With no sunlight at all, temperatures would just plummet to these unimaginable lows. The atmosphere itself would first condense from a gas into a liquid, and then that liquid would freeze solid onto the surface. This would effectively create a silent, airless vacuum on half the planet. So, is there any hope? I mean, any place a survivor could possibly exist? Well, this brings us to our final act, the last doomed refuge. Even in this planetary nightmare, there is one theoretical place where life might just be able to cling on. That place is called the Twilight Strip. It's a thin band of perpetual dawn or dusk circling the globe right between the two extreme zones. Here, the sun is always on the horizon, and temperatures could, in theory, be just right for liquid water, and maybe, just maybe, survival. But that hope is really a mirage, because the sheer temperature difference between the hot side and the cold side would create the most violent weather system you can possibly imagine. This exchange of hot, expanding air and cold, condensing air, it would generate permanent planet-sized superstorms. So even if you made it to the Twilight Strip, you'd face these silent killers. The winds alone would be strong enough to erode rock into sand.
But even if you could somehow survive them, the Earth's magnetic field, which, is generated by its spin, would slowly decay, and that would leave the surface completely exposed to deadly cosmic radiation from space. There's no escape.
Wow, it is a bleak picture, a complete and total extinction event. But okay, before you start worrying, let's take a deep breath and put this all in perspective for a moment. So, the good news is, our planet is not going to suddenly stop spinning anytime soon. The same tidal forces from the moon that are slowing our rotation, they're doing so at an incredibly slow rate. In fact, physicists predict it would take about 1 billion years for the Earth to become tidally locked with the sun naturally. So, while this has been a pretty terrifying thought experiment, it really highlights a profound truth. Our planet's simple, constant spin isn't just a feature, it's a dynamic shield. It's a life support system, a delicate cosmic dance that protects us from extremes we can barely even comprehend. It really makes you wonder, what other invisible forces are out there keeping our world perfectly in balance?